busy weekend. We're going to get to all the biggest things eventually, but I did want to start on this Sunday night in Midtown Manhattan, where 1 week after calling a good percentage of his roster laterally slow and or physically weak, Rick Pitino put on a brand new white suit and whipped Creighton inside the Garden on Sunday afternoon. Final score, St. John's 80, Creighton 66. Deadleg, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was last Sunday when you told the world, the entire world, the whole universe, that the Johnnies were done and not making the NCAA tournament. I'm not trying to start this by putting you on Old Takes Exposed, but let me ask you a question. Yeah. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. if listen, great job by Pitino, vintage to motivate his team. Still not close to the cut line as we speak right now. So back on the win against Creighton, get St. John's back into the NCAA tournament conversation, but no well-intentioned bracketologist would even remotely consider St. John's in the field as of Sunday night. But it was a good.
That's not what anybody's saying. I didn't say they were in the field tonight. I said I don't think their at-large dreams are dead. You proclaimed them dead last week.
Did I say they were dead?
You said that it's over. The Johnnies are not making the NCAA tournament or something along those lines.
See, I did say that. I did say St. John's won't be making the NCAA tournament. I might have put in barring a miracle, but I don't even know if I went that far. I'm going to stand by that. I still think he's going to be coaching the NIT. And if he proves me wrong, hey, guess what? That means I get an awesome story to cover in person at the Big East tournament, and I'm absolutely all for that. And I'm glad we're starting here. One, because for our audience, yeah, we'll get to the thing that people were talking about, but let's not fatigue you and overwhelm you with all the court storming discourse there. So let's talk Johnnies here. Dennis Jenkins had a season high 27 points, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals, and he was awesome. This was the second quad one win for St. John's, as we talk about them, getting back into the tournament discussion. They're 2-9 in quad one. So much work to do, but a nice win. A Big East low, 3 turnovers in this game. They had 24 assists. That was the obvious thing when you watch this game on CBS. And hopefully you caught GP working out of the Fort Lauderdale studio on HQ. St. John's ball movement was incredible. They were on it and they looked ready to go from the start. Extremely impressive, man. 18 points off of Creighton's turnovers. And, the fact that they didn't turn over a ton is also a testament to the fact that Lapis even said this, referencing the KenPom stat. Creighton's dead last in the country at forcing turnovers, so they were lined up to have a good game there, and they didn't miss a foul shot either. 10 from 10 from the foul line, and a 7-game losing streak, GP, against the Blue Jays is now done. Your thoughts on at least one, St. John's keeping it interesting and in an interesting mix of Big East teams right near the cut line or in the vicinity, and we have this continuation now where we're getting Big East teams with high-profile wins and then having the letdown game right after.
And Pac-12 teams too. Hey, Washington State.
That's right.
How you doing? How you doing, Washington State?
True.
But yeah, Creighton. They blast UConn middle of the week and then get not blasted, but they did lose by 14 at St. John's. That's a story, but that's mostly an Omaha story. That's mostly a Creighton message board story. I don't think we learned anything good or bad about Creighton today. I don't think Creighton is as good as it looked against UConn middle of the week. And I don't think Creighton is the type of team that lose to St. John's by 14 points too often. Take that. Let's set it aside. The real story is, I think, St. John's winning a big nationally televised game inside the Garden. Rick Pitino coming out in the white suit and I do believe their at-large hopes are still alive. Now, that means they got to be basically perfect the rest of the way. But I do think you can, and perhaps I'd like to hear Jerry Palm's take on this, but I think you can say right now, you're right. There is no self-respecting bracketologist who would have St. John's in the bracket tonight, even after what happened earlier today. When you look at CBSSports.com, Jerry Palm's updated bracket, and I should make sure everybody knows this, Jerry's updating his bracket every single morning.
Well, he saw you coming for his job, top 25 and 1, so we had no choice.
You got to keep up, or I'll take that too.
But what's interesting about this is there's some spots there where you and where old Gary Palm and Jerry Parrish, they might have some notable discrepancies between some teams. So I'm liking seeing that.
Oh yeah, but I would be interested to get his thoughts on it. I believe the way, if I'm looking at it, I believe that St. John's has a path to an at-large bid. And the way I reached this conclusion, and I think this is instructive, sometimes helpful, because depending on what bracketologist you look at, they're all going to have a last four in and a first four out, and some of them will have a next four out. Maybe somewhere, if you can find it, there's a next four out. But it gets to a point where if you are St. John's and you're no longer in the field, projected field, and you're no longer first four out, and you're no longer next four out, fans sit around going like, where are we? All right, like, are we close? I don't know where we're at. When you tell us we're first four out, that makes perfect. I know where we're at. But right now, we ain't first four out, we ain't next four out. I don't know where we're at. So what I find is helpful sometimes is to go look at the last team Jerry Palm has in his bracket and then look at that resume, that body of work, and then go, okay, now how does this team's body of work compare to that? Maybe we can see where they're at. So follow me here. I'm going to bore you with some numbers real quick, but I do think they're important to sort of frame this conversation. Wake Forest. Congrats to them. We'll get to them. They won a big game this weekend. They are now the last team in Jerry Palm's field. Wake Forest right now is 1-4 in quadrant 1, 5-5 in quadrant 2. So 6-9 in the first two quadrants with no additional losses in quadrant 3 or 4. Wake has one quadrant 1 win. Hold that. I'll bring you back to it in a second. Meantime, St. John's is now 2-9 in quadrant 1, 6-2 in quadrant 2. So 8-11 in the first two quadrants. They do have a quadrant 3 loss. It's to Michigan more than 3 months ago. St. John's has 2 quadrant 1 wins. Now, let me be clear. You cannot appropriately compare resumes by doing merely what I did. There are lots of other things that matter. But on a very basic level, I just showed you that St. John's doesn't appear to be that far away from Wake Forest. Both teams are 3 games below 500 in the first two quadrants. Wake has better computer numbers, but St. John's has more quadrant 1 wins and only 3 losses outside of quadrant 1, although one of them is in quadrant 3. Wake's got 5 losses outside of quadrant 1, but all of them are in quadrant 2, which means none of them are in Q3 or Q4. I'm not saying St. John's is going to get there. I'm just saying, based on what I just told you, I can see a path. And it starts with another quadrant 1 opportunity at Butler on Wednesday. You win that one, you're only 2 games below 500 in the first two quadrants. And then they close the regular season at DePaul, at Georgetown. Those can only hurt you. They can't help you. But assuming they win both of those, and if they can win at Butler, they enter the Big East tournament with computer numbers probably in the 40s or the 30s and only 2 games below 500 in the first two quadrants based on current net rankings. And that would give them a chance in their home building to maybe do enough in the Big East tournament to, if they can't win it, get an at-large bid. I think it's possible. Probable? I'd say not probable, but possible.
Let them get a couple more wins. If they do, we'll circle back. Get more into this with Wake after the break. And wins above bubble. St. John's is still below Wake Forest, which is below South Florida, with Jerry Palm has said doesn't really have any case to an at-large path. I actually would disagree with that. If it wins out to the American Championship semis or better, let's circle back around. But Wake is even below South Florida right now, wins above bubble, and in strength of record, which needs to refresh on Monday morning. Wake is 45 right now. St. John's entering the day was 68. It won't jump Wake in strength of record. That's more resume-based. Obviously, it's not predictive in nature. Keep that in mind. But yes, GP, there's a chance. John Fanta, our bud, he interviewed. So Patino gets the white suit, and Fanta actually got the story here. This is about a 45-second clip. Nada's got it locked and loaded, I believe, because Patino donning the white suit, and what was a whiteout for St. John's, noon tip. It was a throwback to when he did this practically annually at Louisville. But it turns out that he had been kind of asked to do this for a bit, and he was not going to do it. And then something changed on Saturday. Nada, fire this up. Here's what he told John Fanta about donning all.
You show up to your press conference in all black. It was the opposite to start this afternoon, an all-white suit that set this building on fire. But it wasn't always going to be that way. Give us the story.
Well, my wife kept saying, and my kids said, you got to wear the white. I said, that's Kentucky, guys. They said, no, you have to do it. The players will absolutely love it. So until 2 o'clock yesterday, I wasn't doing it. I called up Armani. I said, that white jacket you told me about, you have it? Yep. I said, white pants, white shoes. I said, let's go. Let's do it. I said, your tailor. When I got there, the tailor says, I can't shorten the sleeves and do it. I'm off in 3 hours. I sweetened the pot a little bit, and he did it.
Okay.
Sweeten the pot. That's all you got to do.
Right,
there's a real lesson in there. Sweeten the pot.
Yeah,
Sweeten the pot can get a lot of things done.
If you're extremely rich, you can get things done. That's the lesson. So
yes.
let's just harmlessly speculate. because I love the story here. First of all, it's like I called up Armani. Of course he did, Rick. How much did he pay the tailor to get it done after he said I got 3 hours and I can't? And the tailor's probably, Rick, what do you want me to do? I'm off in 3 hours. There's no way to make it happen. And then Rick's kind of like, oh, you really? I'm gonna say he paid him an extra $1,000 to tailor that. That's my guess. I don't know if we'll ever get the answer, but yeah, why not?
Just to be true to what I was actually going to say before you said what you said, I was going to say 500.
Yeah, minimum 500, minimum, because you think like he's got to at least dedicate another hour or two minimum. So you've got 500, I've got 1,000. You are an extortion expert, and no, this wasn't extortion; it was just purely bribery. I figured you'd have the inside angle on that, but I love the GP. I love the idea that he wasn't going to do it. He calls up Armani, and the store gets it done, and he wears it now. I don't want this to be a one and done. Now, maybe he might be a bit superstitious and not want, but he has lost in the white suit previously at Louisville. If I'm him, I don't wear it again until the first round of the Big East tournament. And then if you win there, you win it every single time until that's what I would do if I was him. I want to see the white suit again before the season's over.
That would be great to wear it in the Big East tournament, have it become a thing of championship week, which it obviously would. And you know what you would get? Fans showing up in white suits at the Garden. It'd be terrific. It'd be the best.
It'd be amazing, yeah.
I was at a white suit game at Louisville. I believe I think it was against Marquette. This is all just off the top of my head. I think it was against Marquette. I believe it was a Sunday afternoon. I remember being in an Irish bar later that night with Pete Thamel and Steve Mazziello and Wes Welker's future wife.
Okay. Don't know who
True
that
story.
is.
You don't know Wes Welker?
I know Wes Welker. I don't know who his future wife is or what.
Well, you should Google her. Buddy, she takes some good pictures back in the day.
I'm sure she does and did. Okay.
I mean, I don't know what her pictures look like these days, but they were good back then. I ain't seen no pictures lately. I ain't been Googling lately. I don't Google. I don't
going somewhere else. Or
No,
okay.
I just wanted to acknowledge that I've been to a white suit game and it ended with a terrible headache.